はい、というわけで第3回目のヴァンパイア配信していきたいと思います。昨日の続きからだね。みたりさんこんばんは。さてさて、ホワイトなんたらに行くところからだよね。ペンブロ病院から再開。さあ、現在の状況、ホワイトチャペルに向かえと。まっすぐ行きゃいいんだな。楓さんこんばんは、千秋さんこんばんは。で、なんか、まあ、いっか。とりあえず、進め。ハグさんこんばんは。さあ来たぞ、ホワイトチャペル通り。シュン。もう早速ね、敵さんがいるんで処していきましょう。ああ、もう真正面向いとるがな。うわあ、俺の釘パッドを食らえ。3発殴ったらよし。うお、やるな。あれ、こいつ結構レベル高いぞ。前回苦戦したレベルだな、18って。ウェットブートボーイズのメモ。ホワイトチャペルで新しいメンバーを集める件についてだが、一人見つかった。アルピーだ。大バカ者だがタフだ。アルピーにブラックマーケットで売る薬を手に入れてみせろと言ったら、すぐに行儀よく持ってきた。次に会ったらウェットブートボーイズのメンバーとして認められたってことと、いや、幹部に会って命令を受けるように伝えておく。よし。とりあえず倒しました。一人だとね、なんとかなるよね。しかもこの子は分身しない子だったんで楽でした。こんのすけ48さんこんばんは。慣れてきたね、随分とね。で、この裏道行かない方が良かったのかな。2人いるんだよな。レベル10だからこいつは余裕でしょう。いた。熱っ。やろう。集結して回復して。ああ、何。うわ、これはまずいぞ。ああ、間違えた。やられちゃった。3人もいたのか。久しぶりだよね、こんな戦闘難易度高い感じのやつ。難易度高いわけじゃないんだろうけどね。お、ハグさん、ハッピーバレンタイン。ウリニャンさん、こんばんは。そう、戦闘にね、多少慣れてはきたんだけど、やはりね、大人数との戦い方がいまいちまだ分かってないと。あとね、今俺避けるために必死にバツボタンを押してたんだけど、丸なんだよね。これですよ。もう、ボタンの慣れ。あとはこれだけ慣れてしまえば多分ね、比較的動けるようにはなると思うんだけど。よし。また多分ね、同じところからスタートなんで。まあ、でさあね。どこからだ？逆じゃん。とりあえず尺だから戦闘はこなしていきたい、ちゃんと。アイテムは取ってあるから、まず1人目。あ、倒した扱いになってんだ。そうなんだよね。ボタン配置がやっぱ違うと。一応、倒した敵は倒した扱いになってるみたいだね。12。どっちも12か。 上から回っていけばいいんじゃないか。1人2人だけだね、いるのは。あ、バレた。待っててくれんだな、吸ってる間な。あぶね。一人になってしまえば母刀ということはない。ただ問題なのはこの気力管理な。まだいるのか。よし。オッケーオッケーオッケー。はいよ。はい、全員倒したはず。でだ、アイテム回収をしてと。いいよ。清志郎さんこんばんは。いるね。注意しとかないとね。結構人数いる感じか。いや、2人だけか。あ、バレた。ちょっとでもスピード速く動いちゃうとバレちゃうね。3人いた。お前なんかさっきやる。もう吸いまくりだね、やっぱレベルが近いとね。うわー、この攻撃は痛い。杭を刺されると結構なんか毒ってるのか、これはニンニクかなんかかな。なんか減っていくな。よし。兵士になろう。さあ、この上にもなんかあるのかい。いや、でも今はまっすぐに向かおう。アイテムこれありそう。あれどこだ。逆か。こっちで合ってたか。よし、あと60メートルちょい。はい、余裕っしょ。いるね。間違えた。吸う間はね、敵さんが攻撃を比較的待ってくれるので。ああ、いった。よし。いるね。バレてんのか。これ朝栗みたいに上から降りて攻撃とかできたらいいのにね。そう、ちゃんと回っててくれる、やっぱ。 だろか。ああ、そっかそっか。まあ地震はね、もう避けようがないからね。ちなみに阪神大震災がマグニチュード 7.3 で、関東の方が 9. 点いくつだったんだっけ、確か。うちはね、比較的何もなかったから、ああやってね、配信できたけど、なんかあった時何もできないからな、こっちもな、できるうちはっていう感じで。いえいえ、お疲れ様でしたよ。スキル振りで何があればいいかな。何なんかえらいパリされんな。あいてててて。あー、ダメだ、気力がないんだ。そうだ、もうダメ、うっかりしちゃうね。いや、こいつやめろ、マジで死ぬからやめてくれ。よし、危なかったよ。ちょっと回復をちゃんとして。あ、バレた。この吸血アクションってのはもう敵にしかしないから、吸えるときにね、いっぱい血吸っておかないと。いやでもほんとね、地震ばっかりは天才だからね、いつ起きるかわかんないから。何こいつ、初めて見るタイプだ。うわー、犬？こいつ今まで出てきてないよね、こんな敵。ああ、犬っぽいな、なんか鳴き声が。昨日狼っぽいのいたっけ？下水道のやつだよね、いたのって。あれかな、似てるけど。確かに言われてみればね。ボタン操作が分かんなくなる。よし、早くね、スタミナもっと増えたらいいのにな。はい、終了。やっぱこんなヴァンパイアは不死とか言っときながら結構普通にね死んじゃうからね。よし、とりあえず行こう。ここか？ここっぽいな。ここ右に入ったところか。なんかもうね、地理感覚がゼロだから。これだ。これちなみにホラー扱いになるのかな。
This neighborhood is linked somehow to the kind Lady Ashbury's blackmail.
レディアシュの脅迫者に繋がっている。隠れ家がどっかにあるらしいぞ。どこだ？キープアウトって書かれてるところだよな。ケッパー、この上な気がするぞ。違うんかい。意外に思ったよりは探索ゲーな感じなんだな。ただもうね、二度と取り返しのつかない選択を1個しちゃってるので、位置を確認しましょうという。あ、ここか？隠れ家。そういうことか。撃たれた。まずは進化のために休息を取りたい。そのためには
Are you all right?
The bastard hit the wall next to me. I don't even know if he meant to miss.
If you've been hurt, I can help you. I'm a doctor.
Name's Albert. Remember it. Now,
そうなん
bugger
で
off.
す。どうしようかな。
I found the recruiter you were expecting. He's dead, but he carried a note. The wet boot
ウェ
boys
ット
have
ブートボーイズは
accepted
君の
your
応募を受け
application.
付けたそうだ。
I knew it! I told you I was tough enough. I'll be free soon.
Free? You may soon find out that you have simply traded one set of shackles for another.
You're all fancy words, none of which concern me. Go worry about someone else. I'm fine and I've a future here.
なんかまた質問。ミッション成功大丈夫か？ヒントが必要。
What happened? Did you really steal that man's medication?
Hey, I didn't do anything, it ain't me.
All right. Perhaps the poor drunk just confused you with someone else.
Sod
ジロー
off,
ちゃんたちさん
mister.
こんばん
You ain't
は。
got no clue what's going on here. Bastard was a soldier in the war, so now he's got the right to shoot me.
It's true. I'm not familiar with this part of town. Perhaps you could help me.
I said sod off. Go find yourself another guide.
ちょっと嫌わ
Do
れて
you
るの
know
かな。
Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? If you know anything about her, I'd appreciate it.
Never heard of her. She's pretty, I'll keep an eye out.
Goodbye, young man.
The wet boots will be proud of me.
It's all a bloody joke to you, isn't it? What?
Shooting a boy in the middle of a street. Not the best thing to do, wouldn't you say?
What?
いやーもう字がちっ
You
ちゃい
saw
わ。
what happened? Who are you?
I'm Dr. Reed, and I'd like to ask you a few questions, if you promise me to set your gun aside.
No. Look, I'm not a violent man. I'm Benjamin Palmer, doctor. And no one can help me. Not even you.
What can you tell me about this place?
Nothing to say, really. This is where I used to live, and this is where I live now.
You don't have anywhere to go? No family that would welcome you?
Not since the death of my wife, Albert's mother. She was sick, you see. Long before the flu and all this shit.
You mean you used to have a better life?
Yeah, I had a wife, a home, and a job. I even used to have a name. Now I'm just Ben. Ben the Tramp.
ホームレスなるのって
Perhaps
やだ
you could
ね。
focus for a moment and tell me your troubles.
I'm sick, broke, and my son just stole my pills. Everything's coming up roses.
Whatever the boy did, I'm sure he didn't deserve a public execution.
I swear I didn't want to hit him. It's just that I'm sick in the head, you see, and the boy just frayed me last nerve.
What is it, Benjamin? It was the war, wasn't it? Your nerves are shot, aren't they? I need some answers, Private. From one soldier to another.
The doctors called me a liar, a coward. Put me in a straitjacket, locked me up. Finally, they sent me back to the front lines with a handful of tablets.
It's a pity that doctors still practice such barbaric methods. It's a dishonor to our profession.
Now only the pills stop me thinking about this shit. To not hear the
もう
explosions.
戦争体験
I'm
の
even scared in the
こ
dark these days.
とがな。どうしようもないもんね、こればっかりはね。
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? Have you heard anything?
It's funny, I've been searching for her too. I need some pills. But the woman is a phantom, if you ask me.
Really? And why is that?
Word is she ain't real. She's a cover for some doctor who runs an illegal dispensary for migrants.
これで一応質
A
問は全部
gun,
できました
alcohol,
と。
and a bad...
どうしようかな。一応隠れ家にまず向かってみましょうかね。あそこにも人いるな。そう、人がね、いろんなところに点在しててね。
Good evening, miss.
Good evening, sir. Are you interested in a miraculous cure for this unknown and deadly epidemic?
あうさんくさい。
I am.
Then you have come to the right place. The famous Swanborough cordial is all you need to help keep you in perfect health.
Oh, really? Why didn't I hear about it during my studies? I'm Jonathan Reed, by the way. Dr. Jonathan Reed.
Ah, my brother has spoken of your research, sir. I'm Loretta Swanborough, and it's always a pleasure to meet a fellow healer.
Tell me, who intrigues you most in Whitechapel?
で順番にね
Region
聞いてい
itself
きま
is
しょう。
something to see, but I would say Camellia the mute florist who gives away her flowers.
What do you think of the locals?
Most of them are afraid or desperate. They all come to me eventually for my remedy.
Is there anyone I should avoid?
Cadogan Bates, without a
キャドガン
doubt.
ベイツ
The bloody bastard remorselessly exploits poor migrants as soon as they get here.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? I'd like to know more about her.
I don't like to talk about competition.
Competition, you say?
Never met her, but it seems she provides some sort of medical care to the poor. The whole thing has to be some sort of scam, if you ask me.
I'd like to see what kind of medicine you're selling.
あ、普通に薬屋さんなのか。素材にリサイクルできる。これ1個買ってみよっか。35ドルもするけど。おでん、もうね、もう名前が覚えらんないんだよな。
The Swanborough cordial can be the answer to all your problems.
ベンジャミン・パーマーはさっき話したよね。で、隠れ家どこだ？後ろ、後ろ、こっち。まだ人が、あった、隠れ家。え、これ違くない？危ね、目的地どこだった？わかんねえ。こっちでこれがこうなってて、こっち側がえ、何これ？死体か。そうそう、なんかね、素材を集めて武器の強化に使ったりとかするみたいですね。デッドインサイド。デッドインサイドってどういう意味？よいしょ。いや今日ね、ウィングガンダム0バージョン過渡期がね、届きましてね、あと、東卓プロビデンスガンダムだったりとか、総決原伝のガンダムね、見てて、やっぱかっこいいなとね、思って、早く作りたいんだけどね。俺、実は今作ってきたやつを考えてみたら、全部、ほぼほぼ RG なんだよね。リアルグレードばっか。あと SD だね。マスターグレード実はあんま作ってないっていうね。よし。回収して。これは隠れ家なのか？これ出口だよね。え、これ隠れ家？めっちゃ血の跡がある。目的地はここなんだよな。これ隠れ家で合ってんのか？なんかえらいすさんだ場所だけど。この2階か。デッドインサイド。ここだね、おそらく。隠れ家1、6、よっしゃ、ようやく。結構遠いな、隠れ家までが。で、アイテム回収をしつつ、ここでね、調合だったりとかできるので、何を、病気の市民を治療します。とりあえず作っとこうかね、いろいろ。あ、なくなっちゃった素材が。肺炎の薬。素材が足んねえ。風邪薬。一応作っといた方がいいでしょ ケイトブラッド回復結成。武器はどうだろう。この普通のトゲのついた棍棒。これ終盤までね、武器がなんだろう、使えるものなのかっていうのが一番の俺の中での疑念で、もし使えるんであればレベルアップさせて使っていきたいなと思うんだけど、絶対後々いい武器手に入りそうなんだよな、この表記の仕方から考えると。で、おそらく色がレア度的なやつだろうと思うんで、ちょっと武器の強化はまた今度にしよう。キープアウト、出口。スタッシュ。あ、血が増える薬ね、一応あるんですよ。それ多分血清のはず。出口が2箇所。あれ、あ、寝て強化するんだっけな。で、ここで、オートファージ。自分の血を吸収して、通常または大ダメージを即時回復しますと。これはね、持っといた方が俺はいいと思うんですよ。結構使ったな。バネ。バイト。1010バイトを使うとダメージが増加します。自動回復量が増加します。ブラッドの吸収量が増加します。これちょっと上げときましょう。300だしね。で、基本的にこのバイト系のやつをちょっと一個一個上げとこう。こういうところはどれを上げていくかで、それぞれ戦い方は変わってくるんだろうけど、スタミナ増加。スタミナはね、俺にとって必須なんだわ。ブンブンしたいからね。違う。これはいいえ。よし。これで OK でしょう。そして次の夜。前はあなたの行動によって地区の健康状態は改善するか悪化します。健康状態は市民に疫病が広がることでも悪化します。ああ、深刻ですね。主要地区イベント、あなたが命を奪うほど地区の健康状態は悪化します。地区の健康状態が壊滅的な水準化を下回ると一帯は大混乱に陥ります。地区の運命を決めるのはあなたです。まだここは来て間もないので、そこまでね。ここは健康になっちゃったんだよな。すべての地帯を壊滅的にしたらなんかトロフィー取れたりすんのかね。安定してると。港はまだそんな行ってないから、ここ結構最初に来たところとかを行ったり来たりするのかもしれないね。エリア的には4つしかないんだよね、今この表示されてる感じだと。おそらくね、アサシンクリードバルハラよりはゲームボリューム的には少ないとは思うんだよな。よし。まあ今は深刻でもおいおい。あ、いていていて。どこだ？どっから出ても同じ出口から出るんだね。おそらく。で、ストーリーを進めましょう。ここですね。他に人は今のところいなさそう。
What do you want? Leave me alone.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed.
医師のリードです。看護師のドロシー・クレインを探していま
There
す。
is no Dorothy Crane here. Now goodbye.
I'm afraid this may...
残念ながらこのリーフレットには逆のことが書いてあり
Really?
ますよ。
Well, I'm afraid I'm going to close this door right now. Go bother someone else, Mr. Doctor.
To enter that house,
あ
I
の
must
家に
discover
入るに
who
はあの
this
男
man
正体を
really
突き止める
is.
必要がある。
Maybe I could start by observing what he's up to.
始められるだろう。行動を調べる。センス。向こう行ったね。冷えた。血まみれやがな。
Strange man was at the door with the pass for our medical facility. I refused him entry.
Darius, how could you know he didn't need our help?
His clothes were too finely tailored to be from Whitechapel.
Perhaps just a friend of that stray poet who is always about.
Richard Nethercott? No, not of the same cloth, this man. I suspect some machination from that journalist.
Clayton Darby. Is he still asking questions?
クレイトン・ダービー。なんか聞き覚えになる名前だな。
I saw him drifting around St. Mary's Church. I swear he is tracking me just downwind.
さあこれでダリウス・ベ
I
ト
must
レ
talk
ス
to
の
that journalist or the poet. They must know about Darius. Nearby the church they just
ジャー
mentioned.
ナリストが詩人。教会の近く。ホワイトチャペル。こっちか。今こっち向いてたからこっちから行ってみましょう。合ってるよね。で、こっち曲がってまっすぐ。
Come on, take a look. Don't be afraid. Welcome, sir. Please, take a browse of my wares.
I am Dr. Reed. I would like to ask you a few questions, if you don't mind.
Doctor? Interesting. I'm Barrett Lewis. Usually I don't have time to waste with talk, but at this hour of the night I can hardly refuse.
How is business around here?
Business? I have no business. Between this racket, theft, and customers getting scared, I'm losing money every day.
I see. Sounds like you blame someone in particular for your situation.
It's no secret Joe Peterson spends his time harassing merchants. But with me, he's trying to put me out of business once and for all.
As a merchant, you see Whitechapel every day. Have you noticed anything out of the ordinary recently?
Well, you mean besides the epidemic, the war, and all the usual crap? As long as I can remember, this part of town has been a bottomless pit, and no sign of the bottom yet.
Violence is increasing in the borough.
Yeah. A few nights ago, some blokes jumped me. Came out of one of the condemned workshops. Fever. Madness. Something like that.
Where did this happen? Why did you go there?
In the closed workshops nearby. I worked there as an apprentice in better days. Now I only go to find trinkets or tools. Too bad I was mugged, though. There was good money in that little box of loot I lost.
Have you been hurt?
No, but that's only because I ran like hell. Those men were raving lunatics, I tell you. Not even able to speak anymore, just screaming.
もうこれモンスターだよね、完全に。
Have you heard of a nurse called Dorothy Crane?
Nurse Crane? So the bitch really is a nurse, then? Always thought she was just some crafty foreigner, that one.
Yes, she's a nurse, and quite a good one. What did she do to gain such notoriety?
Dorothy Crane ain't even a real name. Something like Dorothea Craniu. Something like that. Came to England fleeing the war, I was told.
That doesn't explain why she irritates you so much.
Your precious Nurse Crane gives away medical supplies and prescriptions for free. I offered to sell it for a fair cut, but no. Miss Crane wanted to play the quiet saint.
なるほどね。
Show me what you have.
確かに勝負上がったりだわな。アルミの塊とかある。よし。
Excuse me, sir. I have a few questions for you.
Another journalist? I didn't answer the first one, so piss off!
I'm not a journalist, I'm a doctor.
A doctor, you say? It's quite a rare breed in this part of town.
Really? But still, here I am. Dr. Jonathan Reed, at your service.
I'm Joe Peterson's son. but Colossus joke at most. And I don't remember asking for your service, sir.
重苦しいね。
May I ask what you do around here?
I do whatever I want, and sometimes even more. Now sod off.
How did you become the local bully everyone is afraid of, Joe?
There's no pride in roughing up poor bastards. But this is the only job I've found. And it pays well, too.
A job? So you're racketeering for someone else?
I got enlisted by the Wet Boot Boys, a gang from the docks. I'm their muscle for their dirty work.
You survive at any cost, even at the expense of others. Perhaps that's just the law of nature.
I don't care what you think, sir. I do what I have to do for my own reasons, and that's that.
I'm not sure Mr. Lewis would agree with your by all means necessary philosophy, sir.
Oh, do you really think he's the poor victim here? Barrett can be as sneaky as anyone. Long ago, I even called the bastard my best friend.
According to you, physicians are scarce in this part of town. Why is that?
Not familiar with this neighborhood, are you? I guess your fancy colleagues are too afraid of being stabbed in the back.
This part of town does have quite a reputation. Would you say it's justified?
Totally. Look at me, for instance. I always look my opponent in the eye before knocking him out.
Have you heard of a nurse named Dorothy Crane? She's a colleague of mine, and is supposed to live around here.
Dorothy Crane? Yeah, I know her. One of the few good souls who dare to help the sick around here.
Could you please tell me more about her?
She's a nice girl. Tries to help the migrants. I offered to give her a hand, but she said my reputation would attract too much attention.
Goodbye, Mr. Peterson.
ホワイトチャペルの住民を探すリチャード・ニセルコットを見つけるクレイトン・ダービーを見つける。なかなか見つからんね。人多いな。
Excuse me, sir. Are you familiar with this part of town?
あ、クレイトン・ダービー
Named
だ。
Clayton
いた。
Darby, reporter.
Sorry, I'm new to Whitechapel. But perhaps you could help me since you're a journalist. My name is Jonathan Reed.
Dr. Reed, the famous surgeon. I'll gladly help if I'm able, sir.
Why are the newspapers keeping silent about the Spanish
なんかこうやって人探さなきゃいけないのが結構時間かかるね。このゲームはね。
People shouldn't be demoralized by news of deadly diseases.
I served in France. Our top priority must be to put an end to this butchery. This war must stop now.
Sir, streets are a battlefield too. An invisible and untold war is going on, and it must be stopped.
Have you any idea of the danger you face in these streets at night?
I've had to run and hide more than once from frenzied mobs incensed by the fever. Do you think the flu is really responsible for this,
いや
Doctor?
違うと思うけどさ。
I'm convinced there is more at work here than a simple epidemic.
Really? To be honest, I could say the same. Some of the sick I saw or heard of. My God, what happened to them?
What is a journalist doing in this borough after sunset?
He goes
そう
where
な
none
ん
of
だ
his
よ。
colleagues would dare to
多
go
分
to
そ
inform
の
the country.
あとね翻訳その字幕の切り替えどころがねちょっとおかしいから
So you risk your life to
読みづらいんだよね。
I saw many reporters do the same during the war.
Whitechapel is the crucible of so many untold stories and tragedies. I want people to know them.
そうだね。だから見てる人がねそれでついてきてくれたらいいなとは思うんだけど、
But is the public
ねこればっかり
Not at
は
all, sir. And that's why
どうしよう
I'm
も
an
ないからね。
independent journalist, hoping to sell some stories.
よしとりあえず
I heard you're investigating an underground medical dispensary in Whitechapel. What do you know about it?
Not much, I'm afraid. They are wary of strangers, and I'm not really an acquaintance of theirs. Why do you care?
I'm afraid one of the nurses from the Pembroke Hospital may be
よー
involved
真剣に文字を追って
in unsavory activities.
Ah, could it be Dorothy Crane?
Without a doubt, you are a damn fine journalist, Mr. Darby. What do you know of her accomplice, a man named Darius?
I don't know much about the man. He's very cautious. Never goes out. Doesn't seem to have any friends or family.
He never goes out?
No. A few days ago, he unexpectedly did. I followed him, but it was just a ruse to keep me away from his house.
Really? How do you know?
He went to the nearest mailbox, but just before posting his letter, he ripped it up and threw it away.
He has no relatives at all?
No. Except for that strange man, a poet named Richard Nethercott, who sometimes comes by. Darius would never let him in.
Where can I find this Mr. Nethercott?
He spends most of his time lurking around Whitechapel, talking to himself or declaring verses. These days, you can usually find him behind the church.
教会の裏手か。
Goodbye, Mr. Darby. Forgive my interruption.
Do not apologize, my son. Father Tobias Whitaker is always happy to teach mortals about the incoming Armageddon.
I am Dr. Jonathan Reed, and I just have a few questions.
A scientist? You are much more lost than I thought, my son.
What do you mean when you say that I am more lost than you thought?
All scientists are entangled in a world of causes and consequences, and most of them can't see the plain truth.
Quite a judgmental opinion, if you ask me. But what do I know? Blinded by science as I am.
But you are seeking answers, aren't you? Answers about the Armageddon about to strike the city. Answers about the hidden truth.
Well, I suppose I can spare a few minutes listening to your so-called truth.
As a doctor, you must be aware of the decimating epidemic. But let me tell you that this so-called Spanish flu is just the beginning of the end.
What do you mean?
The beast is finally revealing itself, corrupting the flesh and the heart of men. With my own eyes I have seen them, those minions from the abyss.
Really? And what would be your answer to this biblical threat?
We must fight the disease before this legion outnumbers us. But not with scalpels and microscopes. No.
What is left then?
Cleansing fire.
Tell me, Tobias, what exactly is your plan concerning the cleansing of this city?
God will recognize his own. More than once this city has risen from the ashes, hardened and purified by the flames.
Purification by fire has proved useful, but where do you stop? Burn the clothes? The buildings? The corpses? Worse?
Your lack of faith is predictable. But my task is to convince rational minds like yours to see the light. This is God's will.
You're mad and dangerous. You're nothing but a soulless butcher. A small-time Torquemada. The Savonarola of Whitechapel.
My son, if you think salvation is a free gift, go listen to the lies of that pompous fool, Joseph.
Joseph?
Joseph?
Vicar Larrabee of St. Mary's Church. While he continues preaching his fraudulent redemption, more and more people die in the streets.
What do you mean when you say that I am more lost than you thought?
All scientists are entangled in a...
Quite a judgmental opinion.
But you are seeking...
I am. But the answers I seek are based on facts, not superstition. Have you any friends? Any family left in these terrible times?
もうなんかいろいろありすぎて頭がついてこない。
disciple I see as my son. He is so devoted. I sent him to preach the good word in the heart of this corrupted city.
You sent him on some preaching crusade during the epidemic.
As a true believer, Samuel will fear no evil while he walks through the valley of the shadow of death.
Where did you send him?
I sent Samuel to the Stonebridge Cemetery, where the pestilence and evil grows night after night.
墓地に送った。
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital?
でも一応新しいミッションが発生したんで、こういうのをクリアしていけば何かしらの答えが出てくるんだろうな。
But I especially abhor that Nurse Crane you mentioned.
Why do you hate Nurse Crane more than other nurses?
Before coming to London, she was a member of the communist resistance in her country. That's what happens when you let a woman get involved in politics.
So you're not exactly a fan of Florence Nightingale's work. But nurses are essential for modern healthcare.
Nuns should be the only women allowed to take care of male patients. It's obvious only they have the necessary moral fiber.
これで、一応話は聞き終わったと。じゃあ次は誰だ？あ、また新しい人がいる。ジョー・ピーターソン。あれこれさっき、ジョー・ピーターソン。
You again?
あ、こいつじゃない。
Goodbye, Mr.
ジョー・ピーターソン、こいつだ。
Fancy buying something, sir?
あれこいつじゃな
Goodbye
い。
for now, Mr. Lewis.
Fancy buying something, sir?
あれ間違
You
えた。
never lose your focus, do you? Goodbye.
ジョー・ピーターソン今いたよね。あれだ。
I know it's hard to believe, but this district has always been...
You again?
あれ
What do you want this time?
あ、こいつ話したな。
Goodbye.
じゃあ誰だ？不明なやつが一人上にいて、あそこに謎の女の人がいて。
Don't be shy, handsome. What can Christina do for you?
I'm not looking for what you're selling. But I'd like to ask you a few questions, if I may. I'm a doctor. Dr. Reed.
All right then, but be quick. Though I usually get paid when I open my mouth.
Christina, have you been examined? The epidemic is spreading fast in London, and you could be exposed, or expose others.
I don't like doctors or hospitals, but I don't like you asking questions.
You can put your own life in danger, that's your decision. But what about your clients? If you're contaminated, you will put them in danger too.
And you think that would worry me? If you knew the men I deal with, their health would not be what you'd worry about.
Considering your line of work, I assure you it is only a matter of time before you have health issues.
If it is going to happen, it will happen. Right now, I need money. That's what's important.
Clayton Darby claims he will expose the crisis in Whitechapel to all of London. Do you believe him?
I believe Clayton's courage will erode with time, until he finally leaves Whitechapel to start another fight somewhere else.
Why this skepticism?
How can you speak about starvation if you've never been hungry? Or about poverty, or anything else you have never suffered from?
Are you talking from experience?
I've seen your type come here to get a good fuck in a cheap room or a dark alley before going back to their fancy houses in the West End.
You ne.
Do you need any assistance, Miss Popper?
It depends on the price of your medicine.
I am shocked that you would think I am that sort of man.
Forgive my suspicion. I'm so used to liars with good manners. Thank you, sir.
これで多少は心を開いてくれるのだろうか。
Tell me about yourself.
Are you joking with me? People don't usually come to see me for conversation.
I have no interest in your work. I am, however, curious as to what led you into this career.
Short story. The war, exile, and England. This country is not especially welcoming. I've been refused many jobs because of where I am from. I had few options left.
I always thought I was the master of my own fate. But now I know we don't always have control over our I don't judge you.
You know, this money is not only for me. I have good reasons to need this money quickly, but it is not your concern, Doctor.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? Anything you can tell me about her would be helpful.
I don't know her, but I know her name is Dorothea Crăciunescu. She came from Romania like me and many others.
You seem to respect her.
Dorothea helps the sick people of Whitechapel. Everyone should respect that.
Goodbye, miss. Take...
健康に気をつけて過ごしてもらいたいところですね。でもお薬あげたからね、一応この中か。
Hello, young man. I'm Dr. Reed, and I would like to ask you a few questions. May I enter, please?
Sorry, no, sir. My father does not like people entering our house, you see.
Your father is worried about you, boy. He asked me to look for you.
So my father actually worries about me, then? Okay, then. Come on in. I'm Harry, by the way. Even my dreams are soaked with glue.
So, may I ask you a few questions?
I'm not bothered. What could be worse?
How do you feel?
I'm fine. I mean, it's not easy every day, but I'm fine.
このゲームは重いね。いろんな意味で。
If only I could be tough, like. Well, you know.
Speaking of which, what can you tell me about your father?
My father is an idiot who makes idiot things. That's all I have to say.
Forgive my bluntness, young man, but you don't seem happy living in Whitechapel.
Why should I? I never wanted to come here in the first place. It was my father's decision. And look around you. Does this look like a nice place to live?
I'm sure your father did his best when he found this house. Times are tough for everyone, young man.
That's exactly what my father says. Harry, you should be grateful for what you've got. I wasn't even consulted when we moved here.
If life here is so terrible for you, why don't you just leave this place? Have you ever spoken to your father about it?
I don't go outside. It terrifies me so. I went outside once without my father noticing and I saw terrible things. Bloody and frightening things.
So that's why you stay at home all day? For fear of the epidemic?
I'm not afraid of disease or death, Dr. Reed. It's the living I'm afraid of.
Your father and Mr. Lewis used to be good friends. What happened, Harry?
I was young then. I don't remember Mr. Lewis ever coming back again after my mother died. Or was it after my father started bullying him? I don't know.
Have you tried speaking to Mr. Lewis about it?
I don't go out often, but yes. And he scolded me and told me to leave him alone. I guess my father frightens him too much.
But you are not responsible for your father's actions.
Am I not? Dad always says that he joined that gang for my safety. So if I wasn't born, people wouldn't be worrying about Colossus Joe.
なるほどな。
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital?
無言になってしまうね、この配信ね、ほんと。
I know her. She came here to examine me when I was very sick. She said I should go out more.
Do you need any medical help?
Yes, I do.
薬持ってないんだよね。競争剤を渡したいんだけど。
I will. Goodbye, young.
Even my dreams are soaked with glue.
何かヒント的なものはないかな。へへへ。
It's locked.
鍵がかかっておるな。というか人様の家のものを勝手に持ち出すなと。 いうことだよ。出口はこっち。で、とりあえず行かなきゃいけない。ホワイトチャペルの脅迫。ここの2箇所に行けばいいのな。で、今こっち向いてたからこっちか。こいつも話した。ついでにね、ちょっとクエストを見てみましょうか。今ここの地域のクエスト。あれ？あ、これ成功してんだ。これちょっとやってみようかね。263メートル。結構遠いね。レベルもバカ高そうだから、このクエストやってからにしようかね。ダリウス・ペトレスクの手紙。
The content of Darius' letter to his children could give me more leverage to enter.
隔離病棟か。病棟ではないのか。
Good evening, miss. I'm Dr. Reed. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
あ、口聞けないんだっけ。
A tall stranger who meets a girl in the street at night. It reeks of the penny dreadfuls. But I mean you no harm, truly. I know you understand what I'm saying. Your silence has nothing to do with you being mute, does it? Melia, I know you work for Dorothy Crane. Please tell me about her secret dispensary. A stubborn and mute comrade. Nurse Crane and Darius Petrescu have been clever.
もう全然わからん。
You don't seem to need my medical attempt. Very well.
詩が聞けないんだね。だよ。どこ行きゃいいんだ？ちょっと待って。弓道行くと、どこからここに入るかってことだよね。こっち行っちゃうと、お墓場の方に行っちゃうんで、ここから入れない。
I cannot enter.
どっかに鍵が隔離されてる地区だから入れないんだな。ここから行けるか。急げ急げ。入れない。こっちも無理っぽい。こういう時にね、飛ぶやつビュイーンといけたらいいのにね。なんでこの人ここで能力使わんのや。なんもないのにここはいけると。見当たらんな。もう一人重要人物が。あれこれはクレイジーダービーはこっちか。あ、いけるね。こっちだね。はい、いますね、敵さんがね。はい、チーズタロッカ あ、やばいやばい。そして Google が反応してる。ムカつく。違う。いってらっしゃいじゃないんだよ。あー、これはまずいぞ。もう操作が。ラッシュで逃げろ。ほら食らえ。よし、あと一人。バイキング。いや違うんだよ。テレビ画面に表示されちゃうんだよね、Google が。だからね、無視できないんですよ。うかつなことが言えないというか。リチャードどこだい？もうここですな。完全にここですな。はい、いた。この野郎、手間かけさせやがって。
I'm Dr. Reed. I would like to ask you a few questions.
Please be my guest. Although I may not be the best informant regarding this part of town, my words speak about that which the eyes cannot see.
Really? Are you an artist of some kind?
I'm a poet, sir. Richard Nethercott, at your service.
May I ask what you're doing at this hour of night, sir? Do you live here?
Not at all. I'm just enjoying the pleasure of a quiet walk. Though night talks are always preferable, if you ask me. Especially with strangers.
If you say so. But as a physician in a time of epidemic, I must caution you to avoid unnecessary exposure, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. But we both know the seeker of truth has to go boldly where the weak dare not.
But are you not afraid of the epidemic?
Oh, why should I? I see some equity in the Spanish flu. No flesh should be saved, say the scriptures. Good or evil, rich or poor, all are equal in the eyes of the flu.
Mm-hmm.
Are you aware that your life could be in danger in this part of town?
But this is where I must be to feel the real beat of the city. I had to come, see it for myself, alone.
I understand your need for solitude, but it's not safe around here.
I don't care. I don't have many friends, Doctor, and my family despises me.
If some misfortune came upon you, who would be here to help you?
Well, you, for a start, my dear Doctor.
What are your thoughts on the terrible situation in this city?
Terrible, you say? No. Of course, the death of so many innocents is a tragedy. But the scourge has not been all bad for the city. Oh, no, sir.
What are you talking about?
Do you remember London before the flu? Noisy, cacophonic, quiet nowhere to be found. And now, listen to this oddly peaceful silence.
Yes. The enjoyable silence of the grave. You have a unique perspective on the situation, I must admit.
Most people fail to understand my perspective. I don't blame them. But how could I call myself a poet if I veiled my feelings?
May I ask you a few questions about the district?
Extraordinary part of town, is it not? I'll be glad to help you, if I can.
What can you tell me about an old man called Darius?
Darius Petrescu? Yes, I know him. At first, I thought he was only a small publisher. I invited him to publish my work, but his reaction was pretty clear.
Not interested in your talent?
Darius is an old political activist who takes delight in printing tracts and lampoons. Those communist activities only require mediocre writing skills.
I'm looking for Dorothy Crane, a nurse who lives in this vicinity.
Dorothy Crane. Oh, I love the name. The Crane of Whitechapel. Sounds very mysterious. But, sorry, no, never heard of her.
Did you know the mute florist is a member of a secret society?
No, I didn't. But I thank you for this information, sir. For it only enriches the mystery surrounding the precious camellia.
Are you not curious? Is there not more you wish to know?
That girl has not an ounce of malice in her. Whatever she may be hiding, it's certain to be for the benefit of most, if not all.
I fear you are a hopeless romantic, Mr. Nethercott.
Guilty as charged, Dr. Reed.
Tell me, Mr. Nethercourt, why seek inspiration in Whitechapel?
The place is not beautiful per se, but how to explain it? Stirring and challenging.
Do you not think it a little morbid?
On the contrary, sir. Whitechapel is full of life, full of beauty. Just like my dear muse, the wonderful Camellia.
What can you tell me about Camellia?
Not much. And that's the beauty of it. She can't speak, you know. She's a locked mystery who exhales kindness and sweetness.
Perhaps you're just afraid to find out the truth about your muse.
One day, perhaps, I'll ask her to come with me. But will she still be my wild flower of Whitechapel if she moves uptown?
And have you ever tried to learn more about her? Where she lives? How she survives? Whom she may know?
Maybe I prefer she remains an enigma. Reality can be so dull, don't you think?
In what way, exactly?
The struggle by gaslight, the barren smiles and the added hunger under the rain.
If you say so.
Such vibrant antagonism and vivid paradox. The stripped humanity raged across each street.
Vivid, of course, yes. And what about the poignant distress?
Oh yes, the poignant distress. You see what I mean, don't you? That's what I want to write about, and that's what Whitechapel is made of.
OK、これ
I'll
で。
leave you alone.
Darius is a bit less of a mystery now. It should not be that difficult to incite him to let me in.
ちょっとどこ行きゃいいのかな。これ裏から開けれないのかね、鍵ね。あ、解除した。よし、これでショートカットができると。もう一箇所ぐらいないのかい、ショートカットできる。で、今ここにいて、今度はここ、ホワイトチャペルの脅迫、ダリウス・ベトレスクの家に入る方法を見つける。なんだけど、先にこっち行っちゃいましょう。あまりにもね、なんか、探索だけだとちょっと物足りないので、こっち行っちゃうよ。地区の状態は深刻。もうすでにやばい人いるもんね。
Look lively! It's on to us! Away with you!
よいしょ。バイと。よし、満タン。こういった厄介そうな。ああ、危なっ。やっぱ戦闘だよね。外してんな、これ。なんだ今の。うわー、これは聖なる光が。よし。こっちに。あ、やば、こいつ強えな。あ、嘘でしょ、もう。今なんで間違やられたかというと、ターゲットが移動しなかったっていうのが理由ですね。ターゲット録音をしてたんですけど、それが移動がうまくできなかった。もう最悪アプリケーションエラーです。そして。皆さん申し訳ありません。アプリケーションエラーが起きました。ですね、さすがにちょっと申し訳ないので、チャンネル立ち上げ直して、ここのクエストだけクリアしたいと思います。 すいません、ご迷惑をおかけします。